All right. With money at the center of our political process these days, and politicians so easily being bought, do you think that we're ever going to get to the point where every law is just going to resemble the desires of a few billionaires? Now, we all joke about rich people ruling the world, but seriously, isn't it true? Two good examples come to mind today. Sheldon Adelson, the billionaire casino owner, just made his spending total this election cycle bump up to $36 million by giving $10 million more to Romney's super PAC. And he said that he's willing to spend up to $100 million to beat Obama. Then Carlos Slim, the Mexican telecom mogul, who's the richest man in the world, he called for increasing the retirement age to 70 to reflect longer life expectancy rates. Easy for a rich guy to say, right? But seriously, in their world, are the rest of us just out of luck? Here to discuss this with me is Richard Eskow, senior fellow with the Campaign for America's Future and host of The Breakdown on We Act Radio in Washington, D.C., and JP Frere, senior communications strategist with New Media Strategies. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. I mean, I know that this seems kind of like a funny topic, but I couldn't help it when I was pouring through some of the headlines this morning, or not fun, but but the immediate thing that came to mind is rich people rule the world. Yeah.
Well, hello. I mean, look, the other example we saw of that you didn't mention is
Jamie Dimon.
Yep. Here we have, you have Carlos Slim saying we should push the retirement age back to 70, and you have Jamie Dimon pushing the Simpson-Bowles plan that basically does the same thing up in front of a group of senators, only two of whom haven't received campaign money from Jamie Dimon. Then how can you avoid thinking that these guys are really calling the shots and that neither party is really standing up to them?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you would bring this example up. I think it's a great example, and it works very well with the point that I want to make, which is that when we're talking about Citizens United and money in politics, we're talking about people trying to convince other folks of their own perspective. They're not funding candidates. They're just trying to get their own message out. Now, there's a different thing from when you're giving contributions to a particular congressman. So I would say that it's a good thing when you enable people to not have to give money to a congressman to get your message out. And that's one of the nice things about Citizens United.
But what do you think? I mean, a man like Sheldon Adelson, right? Because we've seen people spend $100 million of their own money try to get themselves elected, right? If you think of Bloomberg, or you think of the Meg Whitmans in the world, but
Romney.
Or Romney. But why is it in Sheldon Adelson's interest? What is the message that he wants to get out there if he is just so desperately trying not to get Obama reelected? $100 million, it's a lot of cash.
But I mean, is he trying to curry favor, or is he trying to...
That's what I'm asking you. What do you
think?
Well,
I think that he's trying to convince other people of his point of view, which is that he doesn't think that Obama should be reelected.
I don't really know what his point of view is, though, aside from saying that Obama shouldn't be reelected.
Well, there's a quote out there that said, where Sheldon Adelson accuses Obama of running a socialist-style economy. So there you get a sense of where he's coming from, and he's trying to convince other people of that. And I think that him spending his money to convince the rest of the American people about that, that's a positive thing for America.
Well, I think that's, I like my friend over here. I think that's an extraordinary point of view in a country that used to express the ideal of one person, one vote, to say that one person can inject hundreds of millions of dollars in a political campaign, because we all know that changes the outcome of elections. You can use that money in very pronounced ways. Jamie Dimon is another great example, because Jamie Dimon and the group of people he represents, particularly after Citizens United, are basically going to pick the next Senate, the next Congress. This is why the Democrats haven't been is one of the reasons why the Democrats haven't been standing up to them. So you have a guy now whose bank has committed numerous crimes, so many that it's had to give up billions of dollars in fines, getting a cakewalk through a Senate hearing committee because he owns them.
Well,
That's a broken system.
Why are you laughing, though, JP? Did you think that they were tough on Jamie Dimon yesterday? Because I can't look at you with a straight face if you honestly believe it.
Of course, they're pretty light-handed. They barely understand the issues. But let's be clear that part of the reason.
Please tell us how to regulate you and give us advice.
And look, this kind of capture, this kind of regulatory capture happens all the time. But let's be clear that if you want to prevent incumbents from remaining in office and beginning to, wean off the largesse of the wealthy, if you want to prevent these elections from happening in places other than, if you want to encourage the people to have a voice in the election rather than smoke-filled boardrooms where just the party is responsible for picking people, then then you want to encourage as many people to get involved in the process as possible. And that includes very rich people who want to spend money. And by the way, let's be clear that in the New York Times, if you have an opinion writer that is extolling, a particular perspective on an election, he doesn't get regulated under this
David
schema.
Brooks. You're thinking of David Brooks.
David Brooks.
You mean
no, but I mean,
exercising his freedom of speech
this
as
is
an
a
individual?
novel. This is, first of all,
But he gets to do so using corporate means, right? I mean, he has the distribution of the New York Times to hide behind, whereas Sheldon Adelson doesn't run a newspaper, so he needs to buy an ad to do that. I think that that's fine.
So Sheldon Adelson's just folks. I think that we've got. Look, we saw it in the BP oil spill. We saw it in the lack of response to the Wall Street financial crisis. We saw it in the lack of indictments, despite an overwhelming preponderance of evidence suggesting that major crimes were committed. We saw it in the settlement to the foreclosure fraud, which was massive, technically perjury, forgery, that we have money ruling the system. And I'm sorry, the idea that Sheldon Adelson has a right of free speech that includes trying to hide from the public how much money he's giving. This kind of notion of money as speech, it's the only speech that anybody describes where you have the right not to be heard while you're speaking with it. The money, the secrecy and so on. The same people who say money is speech fight the Disclose Act that would let us know who's giving money where. So, I think this is just, it's novel.
Well, but Sheldon Adelson, is one of these people that you actually do know how much money he's giving because he's being very public about it and he actually likes the attention, right? But so the problem is maybe even less so people like Sheldon Adelson and specifically, well, although I still think he's a problem because $100 million would be insane just coming from one person, but it's more those that do want their contributions and their spending to be not disclosed. I want to move on to this issue, though, of 70 years old, retirement age. This is not a brand new idea. It's nothing novel. We've definitely heard it for a long time because life expectancy rates are going up. Well, guess who life expectancy rates are going up for? Wealthy individuals. If you look at, minority women that are poor, their life expectancy rates are actually going down.
And it hasn't really gone up as much as people imply. People love to throw around statistics, for example, like saying, well, when Social Security was created, life expectancy was 63, and look at it now. But life expectancy for someone who lived to age 65 was only 3 or 4 years less than it is today. So, there are a lot of false issues being thrown around. But again, you have Democrats embracing what used to be a Republican position because Carlos Slim and other people, his equivalent in this country, are pouring money in to make sure that that's the only point of view that gets represented. Unfortunately, in the entire Republican Party and now in larger and larger sectors of the Democratic Party as well.
What's your take?
I think that it's fine to also want to overhaul Social Security and means test it, so that way people who actually need it get those benefits. I don't think that we should eliminate the security net that catches a lot of people, but let's be absolutely clear that the way that it works is currently broken. If you're going to retire and you're going to rely on your Social Security savings, you're crazy, you're out of your mind. You're not going to be able to afford very much, and we should be able to support people who need that kind of support, and we should not get people who are purchasing Cadillacs and driving around in Miami, providing them with these benefits that they don't actually need.
But then, where do you draw the line? Go ahead, yeah.
First of all, I'm old enough to remember welfare Cadillacs, although I was just a kid. But, I've done social insurance financial planning for over 20 countries, okay, in a past life. And the fact is, if it weren't for the fact that so much more of our national income was being captured by the top, not just 1%, but 0.01%, Social Security would be in perfect shape for many years to come. So the answer is to increase the payroll tax cap and do other things to bring it back. That's just, that's fair, that's reasonable. And if you really think the billionaires shouldn't get Social Security, why not tax them?
Well,
it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot easier to administer.
Them, right?
We have an IRS, let's just do that.
Well, actually, this gets into a nice little merge that we can do here, which is to talk about what we mean by corporations and what we mean by billionaires and who these people are. When we're so concerned about Carlos Slim and we're so concerned about Sheldon Adelson giving a lot of money so that they can purchase ads, we are then omitting the fact that people would like to create a nonprofit, a for-profit, whatever, purchase a bunch of ads and start messaging on elections. They should have that freedom to do so and try to influence the outcome of an election. That's a perfectly American thing. And to say that they need to be revealed in the course of doing so, the most important example of anonymous speech influencing an important outcome for America was the Federalist Papers. And it had Hamilton and Madison and John Jay had been exposed at that time, they might have been drawn and quartered. So I think that it's an important
we
thing to
also
maintain
hope
it.
that we're not in that kind of a society anymore, right? Where you
And
can say
somehow
whatever it is that you need.
I don't think
have to wrap it up,
bankers- okay,
unfortunately,
all right.
because we're out of time. We got to hit a break. But gentlemen, thank you so much both for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, we have to take another break, but coming up next is Julian Assange, one step closer to standing trial in the U.S. And NDAA is